other things that will be components of the food. In terms of the rice, yes, we cannot say that we have achieved self-sufficiency in rice production, but that we have been recorded to be a rice-producing state and have begun to receive the facilities that have resulted in improved production of rice in our a research conducted by Fadama in, I think, a production by 14,000 hectares. Having moved away from the wild growth that yields between 5 and 9 metric tons per hectare to the that yields between 22 and 25 metric tons per hectare. It means that in time to come, from the 7th, 8th, 9th year going forward, that we'll be moving from, if you multiply a metric ton sells for 35,000 naira. If you have a hectare, you are getting 900,000 per annum. If you have 10 hectares, you are getting 9 million per annum. If you have 100 hectares, you are getting 90 million naira per annum. Of course, by the time you remove the cost of production and everything, you find out that you are a millionaire. And when you have 1,000 hectares of cultivated oil palm of the Tenera variety, running at production of 23 metric tons per hectare, you are talking about 900 million naira per hectare.
Okay, the oil palm, the 2 million oil palm you're mentioning, is it the Tenera oil palm seedlings?
Yes.
Okay, it's
that are already growing now in Abia State.
Okay, I would like to take you back to the rice production. You've mentioned that we have a lot of rice farmers in Abia State, but the question is, the rice mill, do we have a rice mill? Because federal government is actually championing the cause that we should go back to our local production. In fact, they stopped the production, the importation of rice, the foreign rice. Do we have a rice mill that can actually enhance this production, help it boosting the morale of the farmers that, okay, as much as I'm producing, I'm going to use industry to, work on it and, of course, sell it to the masses for consumption?
Yes, for the first time under Dr. Azo's regime, we were able to raise 2 rice mills. One in Atanabam in Arochukwu and the other in Ofeme Ibeku in Umuahia North local government here. But beyond that, the government has initiated a program of developing an agro-processing cluster in Obane Ibeku. Flowing from our experience in these trade crops that we have gone into, in the cassava that we already have a glut, we see the need to move cassava from mere producing gari into producing other higher values that will give higher income to the farmers. And you talk about the rice, the mills I talked about are cottage mills. They are not the kind of mills that will produce the rice that you can market internationally or even nationally. That is why the government has also come up with a program of building the agro-processing center where you have processing facilities as they have in Ebonyi State. In Ebonyi State, they have massive rice processing clusters in Abakaleke. You go there, you see up to 500 different mills. And then you have, fortunately, because of a certain level of instability, I would say, because I exited in August last year. We have commenced the building of a commercial mushroom farm in Aba, where you have the ADP. If you go there, you see the building is already there, but it has not been completed. I'm sure that by the time His Excellency comes back, they are going to complete it. But what challenge we have with mushroom production in Nigeria today is the level of awareness we had in the Ministry of Agriculture that occupied less than 1/4 of a plot, had 3,000 bags that was yielding an average of 40 kg per day. 40 kg so at 1,500 will give you an average of 60,000 naira in the day, assuming that the production is stable and that the market is always there. But the problem you have in agriculture is that once you scale up production, you begin to have a glut. And that takes you to the next level. To the next, want to encourage in poultry production, you give him or her all the inputs, the day-old chicks, the feed up to maturity, and be able to provide the veterinary services, which are common facilities, and then be able to arrange for the marketing of whatever is produced. And this Dr. Ibazon achieved in this his first term, having built the first phase of that poultry cluster at Umosunsulu in Iselangwa, not local government, with a plan to build at least one in each of the 3 senatorial zones. The good news to give you, sir, is that federal government has bought into the wisdom of that project. Under the Accelerated Agricultural Development Scheme of Nigeria, Abia State is the only state throughout Nigeria, as I'm talking to you today, that has met with all the requirements, qualified for that scheme, and has already received the first fund under that scheme of 1.5 billion naira for this poultry cluster. Okay, now, what it means now is that
you're talking about the NEG Pro.
No, not the NEG Pro. Abia was slated as one of the 6 states also, because they saw our move in poultry production when they were selecting 6 states to participate in NEG Pro, 1 from each of the 6 geopolitical zones. Of course, they choose Abia State for the southeast. No, outside that, the mother project we have, which is Dr. Ibazon's own brainchild, is the poultry cluster, which is already built in Umosunsulu. 10 minutes from here, you get to that farm. Now, under that arrangement, because federal government is looking for ways of creating employment for our youths.
Okay.
Under that arrangement, the central bank said if any state is to participate in the Accelerated Agricultural Development Program, they must do their own pilot, which is very capital intensive. Now, Abia has satisfactorily concluded our pilot project by building that poultry cluster at Umosu. And because of that, base and supply to the same off-taker. We have solved that major problem which farmers have, which is the hindrance in agricultural development, the glut.
Okay, now let's look at the anchor borrower scheme. Honorable, what really happened with the anchor borrower scheme?
Thank you.
Because the cries and the use everywhere, especially from farmers, is that the state government did not meet up with their own part of the bargain.
Very well. Very well. The anchor borrower scheme of the central bank.
Let's start with rice.
No. Let me talk on the anchor borrowers generally. Okay. The anchor borrower scheme of the federal government failed generally. Apart from KB State, I don't know of any other state in Nigeria that conducted that scheme successfully. The challenges we have here, each time we hold meeting of agricultural commissioners, those of us from Southeast, make them know that the agricultural policies of the central bank or federal government, all these initiatives, are favorable to the north. The conditions for participation in anchor borrowers are very difficult for Abia, or indeed any state in the southeast, to meet as a public anchor. You are required to have a minimum of 1 hectare of land or 3 contiguous hectares. And you know that we don't have such land. By our land tenure, and you are required to have a cluster of at least 100 hectares in one place minimum. You know that by our land tenure system, even if somebody has 10 hectares of land, you can hardly have 1 hectare together. They will be scattered all over. So, all the conditions laid down for it. Okay, if government has 100 hectares, which you can say, okay, let us use, which was what we intended to do. Let us now use government land and partition it and give to our farmers. You have the challenge of land development. The vegetation of the north and the history of the north has made land development very easy for them. Previous governments in Nigeria developed lands in the north. You come to an area because they have communal land ownership. You have massive land that has already been developed. In the southeast, not only that we do not have such land, the vegetation we have here makes land development so expensive that there is no government in the south that can afford land development. So, yes, as a matter of fact, we couldn't meet up with the anchor borrowers scheme. We could not, and because the central bank realized that the anchor borrowers scheme failed, that was why they introduced the Accelerated Agricultural Development Scheme, which also has some similarity with the anchor borrowers because it's all about cluster farming. But this time they now expanded it beyond the crops and now went into other areas. And that's why when we now saw the window, we say, okay, Abia, we can key into livestock production. if you don't have 1,000 hectares together, if you don't have money to develop 1,000 hectares of land to give to 1,000 farmers to meet up with the conditions precedent for anchor growers, we can have 10 hectares of land together to build a cluster for poultry production to give to 1,000 farmers. And that's what we have done.
Okay, now the accelerated agricultural scheme and the NECPRO tied together. Has Abia farmers started assessing, benefiting from this project?
Yes, for the accelerated agricultural development scheme,
Yes.
Abia farmers are ready now to benefit from it because the state government has made the most difficult condition which nobody has met.
What about the national
by building?
production?
No, I'm coming, sir.
Okay.
By building the cluster, and because they have made that condition, the central bank has now given them the money to fund the production. So, as soon as Dr. Bazo starts his second term, they will select the beneficiaries and put them in those clusters that are already built, and they begin to run.
All right.
Now, for the NECPRO, you know, is not a government project as such.
Yes.
It's more of individual based. What happened was that they identified Abia as one of the possible states. And you know that NECPRO is about egg production.
Exactly.
Now, what Abia state government is thinking is that many of the individual farmers who even registered as poultry farmers may not also on their own meet that condition for NECPRO, because you have to build a poultry pen, most likely with battery cage of minimum of 2,000 beds capacity. Now, many of the farmers who even register cannot meet up. That is why if you go to the cluster, which we have already built, government has already started a building on egg production. What government is thinking is that government can also develop this cluster, particularly on the one in Okoko Item, to build the poultry pens there with battery cage of the capacities that will meet the requirement of NECPRO. We see it as a cheap way of developing our state, since by government developing this infrastructure, we'll be able to access funds that our farmers will utilize, not as free gift, because when you give farmers money as gift, they take it away. From time to time, people will call you and say that they hear there is one government agricultural loan. The man calling you is not a farmer. But under this cluster arrangement,
yes,
it ensures that the necessary things that ought to be given to you, inputs are given to you, you are supervised, you produce, a market is created for you to offtake what you have produced, and when it is done, the money given to you is retrieved, and you recapitalize and you continue to produce.
Okay, the challenge here is that how do you ensure that most of these initiatives go to real farmers, not portfolio farmers?
Okay. Now, that is why government has adopted a practical approach. If you give cash, all kinds of people will come. In the first instance, most of the people who are leading farmers associations are not farmers. Many of them don't have farm anywhere. I can name some of them.
Really?
Do you understand? Those ones are political farmers who move from office to office, and they are the ones who go on the media and talk about government taking our money and all that. The practical aspect is what the scholar in governance has done. By now building the facility and not giving you the cash, but giving you all that you require. If you are a farmer, this is the poultry house. This is the 1,000 beds. This feed will feed your base to maturity. If you are into egg production, you want to participate in NECPRO, this is the poultry house. We have built the pens with the battery cage and all that. And NECPRO, under the arrangement, will supply all the input. So under the cluster arrangement that Dr. Bazo has introduced in Abia State, definitely you can be rest assured that the only people who benefit from it are farmers. The next thing Dr. Bazo has done, I told you that he paid the counterpart fund to enable Abia State participate in Fadama 3 additional finance. And I told you that that has brought so much into Abia State.
All right.
Apart from the funding that our rice farmers have received, apart from the funding that cassava farmers have received, they included Abia as one of the 6 states, initial states for the Fadama Guys. Fadama Guys is Graduate Unemployed Youth Scheme. There was some time that this issue was so much discussed on the media when our youth heard that about 300 youths in Abia, from Abia, were going to receive a grant of between 1.5 million and 2.5 million. Even those who were related to me, they started abusing me and say, you are from our village and you have this, or you didn't include our name. Now, what happened was that because Abia had met its obligations, when they were now selecting states that will benefit from that program, they selected Abia. Under that arrangement, 300 youths and women, nobody talks so much about men, will now benefit in that scheme. The idea was to develop agripreneurs, people who go into agribusiness, and you will be trained, if you are selected, on the area that you have chosen, and then you'll be funded and supervised, because that fund is a combination of that one which the governor brought, which the state brought, the one from the World Bank, and then the one from the Central Bank.
All right. It is still
so under that, the success story is that 282 Abians have already received that fund. They have not received 1.5 or 2.5. What they do is that they receive, after having been trained in Umudike,
okay,
they are giving these monies instrumentally. The first set, they have received between 400, some receive 500, a little below that, some 400, a little below that, for the first phase of whatever they have chosen and they have been trained to do. And what you talk about, not allowing
portfolio farmers.
Now, what they did was they advertised this and asked people to go to Farama portal and apply. Many people did not believe it. They say, that is how they talk.
Okay.
Many who have applied previously and failed did not. But at the end, out of 300 slots given to Abia, only 282 could get through. And of course, they got it automatically. They were given rigorous training, and they are being funded and supervised. So even if they intended to be portfolio farmers, it's not going to work because it's under strict supervision by the Farama and the World Bank.
All right, it is still the impact right here on Flow 94.9 FM, the flow of God's own state. We have just 7 days before the inauguration. We're talking about the second-term administration of Governor Okeze Ikpeazu. And of course, we're looking at the first time. We're looking at the high points, the low points, and of course, agenda setting for a prosperous Abia state. That's why we are here. And of course, it is the number 5 in the series of this agenda setting program, the impact. We're looking at agriculture. And right here has been speaking to us concerning agriculture in Abia State, the former member of the House of Representatives and of course a former commissioner for agriculture, Right Honorable Uzo Azubike, right here in the studios of Flow 94.9 FM. We are opening the phone lines now. If you want to participate, we also have a thread on our Facebook page. You can also log on to your Facebook page, facebook.com/Flow949FM. And of course, our phone lines are 0808 182 6949, 0811 605 2949. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Dickin Abraham.
Okay. You're welcome, Dickin.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning, sir. Former Commissioner, sir.
Yes, former Commissioner. You are always a Commissioner.
Thank you, sir.
Please, sir. I listened to you and the governor when you heard an interview on Love FM some years back.
Okay.
Yes, you made to us to understand that there was a money from the federal government as a sort of a loan to Abia State.
Yes.
During the past government, not in, I think, in Ochendo's government, that gave to farmers, to give to farmers for a loan. And that loan was not disbursed to the farmers. And in the Radio Nigeria, when Obi Nodowike faced the president of farmers, he said he did not get the loan. And Mr. Commissioner,
you have to wrap up your thoughts, please.
Yes, I heard you saying that the money the federal government are recovering from the state account, 50 million naira every month through our allocation. Did you see people that was giving the loan? That is my question to you. Did you see them?
All right. Thank you for your contribution.
Oh, you are talking about the regime before Dr. Ikpeazu, that Abia got some facility on the commercial agricultural credit scheme. That was it, which had been paid off. And that was the point. That was before the administration of Dr. Ikpeazu.
Okay, on the Facebook page, this one says, Ernesto Guru says, good morning, gentlemen in the house. I want to commend this government on its efforts towards the agricultural sector, especially the growing of mushroom. Please, sir, it is high time we focus more on rice farming, cassava, and palm oil. May God bless in the Abia. Hello, good morning to you. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Our question on the line.
You're welcome.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you. I really appreciate what you have been able to narrate this morning about what you give us and the project in terms of agriculture. I so much appreciate God that today we have Abia right. That.
Oh, network there. Hello, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is CEO myself.
All right, you're welcome. I promise.
Honorable Commissioner, Honorable former Commissioner, good morning, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Good morning.
I specifically listen to you, but let me first of all appreciate the management of Flow FM for coming out with this agenda setting program. We have never had it before like this in Abia. I think I give a high five to Flow FM for being always the first.
Thank you very
Honorable
much.
Commissioner, I listened to you while you were analyzing your stay in office as the Commissioner for Agriculture in Abia State. I must first of all commend you for your work because you were one of the outstanding commissioners we have in this state. As a journalist, I monitor the activities, especially your mushroom initiative that yielded results. So I want to ask, if in case you are given such opportunity, which area can you diversify your ideas again, since you have been able to prove to us that Abia youth should shift a little bit from trade and commerce and enter into agriculture? Which area? I want to know which area, in case the governor finds you worthy to be reappointed to that office. Which area can you diversify your vision, sir?
All right, thank you for your contribution.
All right, promise. I really don't know whether you have the governor's brief to seek for the but we want to get to that point now. Let me just tie it this way because we do not have time.
There's someone on the line, Samson. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Michael Samson and the Commissioner of the City.
Good morning to you,
Good morning, sir.
former commissioner.
Yeah, former Commissioner. Please, I remember Mr. Prince Loswago calling from here in Obo, in Imo State. I think, Commissioner, I'm very, very grateful on what you have already educated us, actually, on what goes on in the agricultural sector in Abia. To me, it sounds well that I mean, to me, if I were the governor, I would have appointed you as one of the commissioners or one of the ministers for agri, because you have already given me a very big lesson. But let me be factual. I don't hide secrets.
Okay.
There are some questions people ask in the studio. Most importantly, the coordinators, Samson and others, ask you how many capacity of rice does Abia State produce? And we couldn't get it from you. You told us that Abia State produces is the first that introduced the mushroom production of mushrooms. That our governor-elect from Imo State buy from you. That Abia State. But now that somebody asks you that Abia State has introduced their own and is going far. So that let me go direct to my question.
All right, please wrap up your thoughts, please.
Okay.
Abia State, Abia State, we have one of the prime ministers, that is Opara. Opara planted a lot of cashew in Abia State. So today I'm shocked and I'm surprised that Abia State doesn't make use of that cashew plantation. And I know that cashew is one of the big agricultural produce.
Right. You have to wrap up your thoughts now because of our time.
Please, what can you say about the cashew?
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution.
We actually do not have the time, but honorable, you're still an honorable.
Forever, for life.
Yes.
But the point he's making, sir, is that...
Okay, I want you to tie this point to it. Say, like, where do you see Abia State in terms of agriculture after 2023 when Okezie Ikpeazu must have done his second term?
I see Abia coming to be what we desire, the foremost leading state in oil palm production on all value chains. I see Dr. Ikpeazu in his second term bringing to reality the agro-processing cluster, which is already designated for Obani Ibeku or any other place. So that people who go into cassava production, into rice production, will be sure that the shelf lives of their produce will be extended and they will not continue to suffer glut. And once that happens, it becomes very profitable. Many more people will go into it. And so, with that approach, I see Abia remaining the leading state in cassava production, because as it is today, we are the leading state in cassava production.
Okay.
But we have not harnessed it because we have not developed the value chains. So I see in the next 4 years, conscious steps being taken to develop the value chains, the higher value chains.
Okay, I want you to just answer that question about cashew briefly before we wrap up things.
There's the challenge we had, the challenge Dr. Ibazu's regime had with cashew at Umunnochi was that it was given, we almost had the same problem with rubber. It was given to somebody who was supposed to be a developer. And you know these agreements, once you sign them, many times it's difficult to untire. The man promised to build a processing plant in that place. By the time I went there, he said he discovered that the production in that place was not enough to sustain a processing plant, which you know is a breach on the terms of his contract. And the government was just being patient with him. I believe that in due course, when Dr. Ibazo resumes his second term, if the situation remains in that place as it is, he will know the necessary steps to take to recover that place from that developer.
We should be expecting more activities in cashew, in cassava, in oil palm too, especially the cluster you mentioned.
Yes, the poultry cluster, but not to become jack of all trade.
Okay.
That we should select few items